What's up, you guys? I wanted to get on here and talk about what's going on in Palestine. I've been very vocal about it on my Instagram, but I do have a wider audience here, and it would be just wrong of me not to try and educate and influence as many people as possible to stand on the right side of history and to stand with the oppressed versus the murderous oppressors. Um, First and foremost, anyone that has a platform that is choosing to stay silent is choosing to stay silent out of their own interest, out of ignorance, and out of the lack of humanity. Who cares if you lose brand deals? Who cares if you lose relationships? Why do you want relations with people who are pro genocide, pro ethnic cleansing? Um, yeah, aside from all that, I wanted to get on here and talk about what is going on in Palestine. If you don't have a platform and you don't want to talk about it, which is weird, but try and do your share in donating or calling government officials, calling for a ceasefire. There are thousands of Palestinians being murdered every single day, 40% of which are children, um, a majority of those children being infants who don't even, babies, who aren't even named yet. Um, So yeah, what is going on in Palestine is not a trend. This has been going on since 1948, when Palestinians were kicked out of their own homes, my grandparents being included. And yeah, ever since the Nakba, this is literally like a second Nakba where Palestinians are being displaced in the millions out of their own homes, where Palestinians have to stay on refugee camps on their own lands. But yeah, basically, the state of Gaza right now is that it is in and encircled by Israel and Israeli troops. It is in the largest open air prison with like 2.5 million people. Okay, it is the most concentrated open air prison. I will say it is like a concentration camp. They're being bombed, their water's being cut off, their internet's being cut off, aid isn't allowed, and they're being exterminated. Okay, in the same sense in which we have learned about the Holocaust and we're all like, never again, Palestinian people are being exterminated. They're being burned with white phosphorus. They're having war crime after war crime happen to them. They're being taken up as prisoners and being tortured, and they're being hit by Israeli airstrikes that are wiping out whole family trees. Not just mom, dad, brother, sister, like mom, dad, uncle, grandparents, great grandparents, their whole family tree is being wiped off, like their last name gone. Um, to sit here and be ignorant about it and allow that to happen to them just sets a standard for how we would allow ourselves to be treated if something like that were to happen. It sets a standard for accepting other people's ignorance towards atrocities that might potentially happen to us too. So please stand on the right side of history. Try and educate yourselves as much as possible. Palestinians have no water, they have no food, they're starving. Um, Kids are being killed under buildings. And this is like the accounted for death toll right now is around 9,000, 40 of which are children. 40%. 40%, almost half of which are children. Um, and that is not taking account of the people that are stuck under the rubble, the people who are dying of starvation. These are just people that they could put a name to a face and say, this person was killed. Okay? This isn't taking into consideration lifeless bodies that are just the bombed bodies, okay? Unrecognizable bodies. Imagine how many of those there are. But yeah, everything we have seen up to this point has been with internet access. Everything that Israel has allowed us to see, they're okay with us seeing. So imagine now with internet being cut off to Gaza, what we are not seeing, the horrible things that we are not seeing. And then another thing that I wanted to address was this whole, well, Hamas started it. This isn't something that we could say, well, this person started it, therefore there's a war, there's a conflict. There's no war, there's no conflict, okay? Palestinians don't have the artillery that the Israeli government has. They don't have the support. They don't have the 14 billion in funds that is being given to the Israeli government. Palestinians don't have that, so it's not really a war. And not just that, but the constant justification of, well, Hamas is hiding in hospitals and refugee camps. Hamas is using children as human shields. That is all propaganda. That is all a way for you to think, oh, it's okay that Israel bombed a hospital. It's okay that Israel bombed a refugee camp. It is okay that Israel bombed an orphanage. Israel has one goal in mind, and it is to kill as many Palestinians as possible, especially young children who are going to grow up knowing the shit that Israel has put them through and retaliate. They are trying to exterminate as many Palestinians as possible, and it is clear if you just use common sense, okay? Hamas is literally protecting Israeli hostages. They're taking care of them. They're giving them medical access. They're giving them all this, and you think that they're going to hide behind Palestinian kids? Hamas is not in hospitals. Hamas is not in orphanages. Hamas is not on refugee camps. But you have to realize that Israel has to say this in order to justify their war crimes, in order to be like, wait, we bombed a hospital for a good reason. Hamas is in the hospital. Well, then why did you have to bomb multiple hospitals? And then after that, why did you have to bomb neighborhoods and orphanages and this and that? Like, it's because you haven't killed Hamas yet, right? Because Hamas they're not in hospitals. They're not in orphanages. You are killing children. You are bombing hospitals so that the injured people cannot get treatment. And they will also be a part of the killed civilians. Okay? You are having hospitals out of food, water, out of medications, having to amputate people without anesthesia. Like, that is just war crime after war crime. Please just try and see through the bullshit. Just use your common sense. Israel lives off propaganda. Their state has their own TikTok, their own Instagram page. What? It's all propaganda. It is everything you see from Israel is propaganda. The whole beheading 40 babies that never happened, that was just to justify murders of thousands of individuals. And now you are seeing Palestinian babies being killed and no one cares. Just please try and do something about it. If you're not going to get on social media and advocate, have conversations with your friends about it. Have conversations with people around it about it. Like, this isn't a topic that we should just, hold dear in our heart. Like, oh, like, internally I support Palestine, but God forbid I ever say that out loud. No, like, these are conversations that need to be brought to light so that individuals could be educated and so something could actually happen. But just one more thing I wanted to add, which I think is very important. This is not a war over religions. It's not Jews versus Muslims. Israel, the occupational state of Israel, is killing Muslims and Christians. They've bombed churches. They don't give a shit. Okay? And they've also attacked Jews. So don't think that this is a whole religion thing. I'm personally Muslim. Half my family's Christian. I love Christians, I love Jews equally, and this has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. It is not anti-Semitic to stand up against Israel. It is not anti-Semitic to stand up against Zionism. Most of Zionistic beliefs are extremists, just like we condemn Muslim and Christian extremists like the KKK and ISIS, whatever. We should also condemn extremists who are trying to use their own version of biblical texts in order to spread whatever agenda that supports genocide in order to acquire their own land. So anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism. A lot of Jews actually stand against these ideas, extremist ideas of Zionism. So just take that into consideration. This is not a religious thing. It is against Israel, who is a state that is trying to take over Palestinian lands. Also, stop going on social media and shaking your butt for views and posting all these videos and this and that. Read the room. There are people dying. You look dumb as hell shaking your butt on social media. You look dumb as hell. Read the room. Don't be ignorant.